Hi everybody and welcome to Beyond Politics. Today we'll be speaking about something that should be on everyone's mind and close to everyone's heart, and that is property rights.
Well, it's not just property rights, it's the rights that banks have. If you look at corporations in a country, it's clear that government is there to take our tax money to empower corporations and banks especially. And in this case, we just want to create a scenario for you. Imagine you've fallen on tough times and you go on holiday over the December period and you come home and you're locked out of your house, the locks have been changed, and there's someone inside.
This is not a fictional scenario. This actually happened to a woman. And we'll cover this article that is entitled South African Banks Have the Power to Lock You Out of Your Home. And this is in Business Tech, and we'll put the link. But before we get into it, property rights. Is there anyone here who's willing to be vulnerable and comment, are you still paying a bond to secure your property? Or do you rent? Or have you got a paid up home? In which category do you fall? Having your own property, your own home, your own piece of land, your own plot is the foundation upon which you can start to build wealth. Until you have that foundation, life's always going to be a struggle. But just to acquire your owned, whatever that means in the world today, piece of land and house on that land, until you get to that point, you are at the mercy of either the government or a job, and if you lose a job, then you're in trouble. So I think for a very long time, property ownership has been under attack. I remember when Klaus Schwab said you'll own nothing and be happy, and when I look at how property prices are continuously going up and property developments are reducing in size, it just makes me think of what he said.
And if you look at that going forward, what does it mean for you? I really want to think about yourself, your current situation, as Lauren asked, and tell us in the comments what your situation is. But just understand one thing, that government's going to protect the banks, okay? Because they need banks to make their government bigger, to get more political power, etc. So they use all these tools at their disposal, laws, regulations, etc., to empower the banks, using your taxpayers' money because you vote for them, okay? And what happens is the bank have authority over that property until it's fully paid. So most people, I think, is falling in the category of still paying off a bond. Over 20 or 30 years or whatever the case may be, the bank has the right to take possession of the home. And the thing is, they don't really have to prove that they got hold of you. The address that you gave for posting anything, they can just give that letter of intent. That's the basic gist of it. And just imagine you arrive home and someone else is there.
Yeah, so infrastructure in the country and laws that are created are all made to uphold and strengthen the interests of large businesses and corporations, not people. So we actually don't really have many rights or protections when we fall on tough times. So the property market's not looking good according to these statistics. First National Bank reported that 23% of homeowners who sold their properties in the third quarter of 2024 did so due to financial difficulties. This is up from 21% in the preceding quarter.
Which is also not good news,
Not good
but it's
news.
getting worse.
And the figure is notably higher than the long-term average of 18%, revealing the growing trend of forced sales as homeowners grapple with unaffordable mortgage repayments. And I'm sure the high interest rates and the high costs of living had a lot to do with it. Things have become so expensive and will continue to do so.
And economy not growing. We'll be lucky if we get a 1% growth rate in this country, which is absolutely shocking.
Yet the president is hoping for 3%, but state-owned enterprises are requiring bailout, so I'm not sure how he manages on growing the economy.
Eskom, for instance, needs over 40 million to cover their deficit because municipalities are just not paying them at this stage. So they could either get more customers, which is not going to happen, or they need to get more money. Because the government's not stopping people from the illegal connections, municipalities from not paying. So, yes, that puts more pressure on homeowners and people in general. So, it looks like I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel with regards to the situation.
Yeah, I see what
And
you're
most
saying.
economists are saying the same thing. It's like a downward spiral. The only thing that can turn this around, according to economists, is our economy growing. And for that, we need investment. We need businesses to do well. We need companies to spend. We need individuals to spend, those that do have money, to spend the money in the economy.
But that begs me to ask the question, do our politicians and our government directors or leaders or whatever they are in whatever department, do they understand basic economic principles? Do they understand basic scientific principles? Do they understand basic engineering principles? A politician actually needs to know quite a vast range of subjects in order to make informed decisions on behalf of the populace. But they do not.
They do not.
They
No,
do not.
especially when a government is taken over by freedom fighters. This is typically what you would get. Throughout Africa, this has been the case, where the people aren't qualified to actually make informed decisions. And it's easy for international organizations to then dictate policy to that government.
I don't know where I read it a long time ago, but the fact that liberators should not become governors, and that is quite profound, and I think that's what we see here in the country. The priority is still politics, ideology, and not running of a country. We need the state to be run effectively and efficiently and decisively, and that is not happening. So I just actually want to I do want to tell this woman's story in the article. You can read it in full.
It's important, yeah.
But it's just put yourself in her shoes. I think all of us here are across the country, no matter where we may be, Western Cape, Gauteng, wherever, are struggling to survive and are also suffering government incompetence on various levels, local, provincial, and national. And I think any one of us can default on our bond payments, and this woman had been defaulting on her bond repayments, doesn't say for how long. And she comes from Rudaport, and she went to go stay with family because the electricity was disconnected. And she said to ensure the property remained secure, the owner and her siblings regularly checked on it. So she's defaulting, she can't afford electricity, she moves to family temporarily, and she's checking on her property. Completely reasonable up until this point. The longest I was away from the house was between the 20th and 30th of December, as I was on holiday with my family in Durban. Again, completely reasonable. How many of us have gone on holiday for more than a week? It happens.
10 days, yeah.
Upon returning, however, she was shocked to find that a company, a caretaker in brackets, had used a locksmith to gain access to her home and take control of the property.
That's with all the possessions inside. Just remember that. Imagine your home while it's not your home. And I think people need to start thinking differently about it.
It's not your home.
It's not your
if
home.
You're paying a bank.
Your contents might be inside of it, and someone else just takes possession of it.
The company claimed to have been sent by Nedbank, her bond financier, to guard the house. Wow. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Do you think the bank is justified in doing this? I'd love to hear someone.
I think a lot of people might believe that it's justified because of their financial interest.
I would love to hear a counter opinion.
However, this is your all your belongings.
Yeah.
Someone else is in your house, and the banks have a right to do this. So understand the small print. Okay, so we're not attacking the bank here. We're asking, do you think that this is okay? And are you aware that this can happen to you?
So, a lady is highlighting that while the South African law requires banks to issue a Section 129 notice, a formal letter of demand, before initiating legal action against a defaulting homeowner, the burden of proof for delivery is minimal. And that's a problem because you literally might legitimately not receive it.
Exactly.
Banks are only required to send the notice to the address provided by the homeowner via registered email. Mail. They are not obliged to confirm receipts.
And that is a problem because in the past people believed that you have to receive that notice. That is not the case at the moment. And people need to know this. I know I speak to many people that said, but I haven't received this, I haven't received that. Doesn't help anymore. The banks are looked after, and this is government regulations and laws. So this is the politicians you vote for making sure that the banks have the upper hand and have the power. And it's your job as a voter to get rid of them if you're not happy with what they are doing.
Yeah, so stepping out of the political landscape, refusing to participate in politics in this country is detrimental. Additionally, mortgage arrears have risen sharply, with 7.8% of South Africa's mortgage debtors behind on payments by mid-2024.
That's a lot of
well
people.
above the historical average of 4.5 to 5%. That's a sharp increase.
Yeah.
And I can understand it with how everything's playing
Mm-hmm.
out in South Africa economically at the moment. So property ownership rights. How much do we actually have? How much control do we have over property ownership rights? It's looking like it's leaning towards no property rights pretty soon, especially when banks can just bulldoze into your property, knock down your door, and take control.
Here's the thing, even if you just have 1 month's payment outstanding, there was recently someone that had paid off on their car for 5 years and the car was repossessed completely. The same with a house. If you cannot make that last payment, the bank can repossess that house, sell it on auction to cover the outstanding amount. So the house is not yours until you have that piece of paper in your hand, and even then the government still has a big disclaimer on your title deed, as we've seen, where they can decide whether that property belongs to you or whether they can use it for something else, because they clearly say, we take notice that you have paid X amount for this property.
So if the government was really geared towards the people and protecting people's rights, and especially protecting people's ability to be self-reliant, then there should be ways in which people can be helped when they are defaulting, especially if they've spent years and years and years paying a bond or whatever, and they reach a point where they're having difficulty. There should be ways to mitigate that without your house just being taken away by the bank.
In the past, internationally, banks have been bailed out by taxpayers' money. Think about this. This is governments using your tax money to bail out corporations. And this is why you've always said that we should live independent of corporate and government control. Corporations controlling our lives, governments controlling our lives. And as I've said many times before, most of what you see around you, any development is done for corporations. So you can get to the corporation or the shopping center or whatever to consume their products. It's not done for you. Your taxpayers' money is to make sure that you spend all the money, all your hard-earned cash, in this financial system that's been created to suck you dry.
Technology is set up like that as well. We are just consuming beasts, subjects, not citizens that are empowered. So just be aware. I don't know what your situation is with regards to your property. Do you own it? Do you rent it? Are you still paying it off? Either way, understand that banks have all the power, government has all the power, until we organize and change that ourselves. Please go to our website, beyondpolitics.co.za, find out more about what else we do. We offer citizen empowerment training as well as other workshops. And we look forward to discussing more important news in future videos.
And please like, share and subscribe this video and make more people aware of this huge problem.